The Young and the Restless spoilers full episodes Tuesday, October 21st, 2025. The night at the Genoa City Athletic Club was meant to be one of celebration, laughter, and carefully planned surprises, but in true The Young and the Restless fashion, it unfolded with tension, missteps, and the kind of charged drama that keeps every pair of eyes glued to the screen. Danny Romalotti's bachelor party was set to be the social event of the week, an elegant, nostalgic gathering meant to honor a man whose life had been marked by music, passion, and a complicated romantic history. Yet even before the champagne could chill, the air around GCAC began to hum with the uneasy sense that something unexpected was about to happen. Downstairs at the Jazz Lounge, Abby Newman and Devin Winters were in high spirits. The couple had been looking forward to a night out after weeks of business negotiations and family distractions. The lighting was soft, the music low, and Abby was eager to host an evening that promised elegance and exclusivity. However, their enthusiasm began to fade the moment Diane Jenkins, Tracy Abbott, and Lauren Fenmore entered the room. The trio, each with their own brand of sophistication and curiosity, immediately noticed something odd. The club wasn't supposed to be open. The "closed for private event" sign outside made the atmosphere feel clandestine, as though they were intruding on something bigger than a simple social gathering. Lauren's eyes narrowed as she spotted Devin at the bar, her voice cutting through the low hum of conversation with practiced precision. Why was he here, she wondered aloud, if the club had been booked for a private affair? Tracy exchanged a knowing glance with Diane, the three women sensing that the evening was about to shift from festive to suspicious. Before anyone could piece together the clues, the energy in the room shifted. The doors at the far end opened, and in walked the man of the hour. Danny Romalotti, smiling with that familiar mix of charm and nervous excitement that had made him a heartthrob in every phase of his life. His arrival silenced the whispers, if only for a moment. Danny's warmth filled the room, his easy charisma a reminder of the decades of history he shared with nearly everyone present. He was home again in Genoa City, surrounded by faces that had witnessed every triumph and heartbreak of his career. But tonight wasn't just about the past, it was supposed to be a celebration of the future. And yet, as he looked around, he couldn't help but notice the undercurrent of tension weaving through the crowd. Upstairs, Victoria Newman and Nate Hastings had chosen the GCAC for what was supposed to be a quiet date night. Both had been navigating their own emotional labyrinths, Victoria still wrestling with her sense of identity after recent personal losses, and Nate trying to rebuild trust after past betrayals in both love and business. They expected a relaxed evening, perhaps a glass of wine and some candid conversation. But when they stepped into the dining room, the sight before them gave them pause. The tables were set, candles flickered faintly, but the room was empty. The silence was so complete that even their footsteps echoed. Victoria frowned, scanning the quiet expanse of polished floors and dim chandeliers. Had the restaurant closed early? Was there an event they hadn't known about? Before Nate could answer, Jack Abbott and Michael Baldwin appeared, equally confused by the empty venue. Jack's voice carried its usual mixture of humor and concern as he asked Victoria why she wasn't downstairs with everyone else. His question hung in the air, unanswered, as realization began to dawn. Something was happening in the building, something unplanned, something more than a dinner or a simple party. Then, from the stairwell, Danny's voice broke through, cheerful and unmistakable. He approached with an energy that didn't quite match the tension in the air, announcing that he was about to run down the aisle, not walk. The joke was classic Danny, playful, self-aware, and tinged with irony, but behind his smile, there was a glint of nerves that even the dim light couldn't hide. And that was when the night truly turned. The front doors opened quietly, and in stepped Phyllis Summers. Her entrance was almost cinematic, the faint creak of the door, the gust of cool night air that followed her in, the flicker of candlelight against her expression as she realized she was witnessing something she wasn't supposed to see. Phyllis froze, her instincts sharpened by years of betrayal, reinvention, and heartbreak. From her position near the doorway, she caught snippets of conversation, the laughter, the teasing, the casual warmth between Danny and Victoria, and her stomach tightened. It wasn't the words that cut her, it was the tone, the easy familiarity that told her Danny had moved on in ways she hadn't been ready to accept. Her face fell, the brightness in her eyes clouded with that old, familiar storm of jealousy and regret. The irony, of course, was that Phyllis had no intention of causing trouble, at least not that night. She had come to celebrate Danny's happiness, or so she told herself. But the sight before her reignited every insecurity she'd tried to bury. When Victoria's voice rang out, asking Danny if they were interrupting his bachelor party, Phyllis felt something twist inside her. The question, innocent as it was, cut too close to the truth. To everyone else, it was a playful remark. To Phyllis, it sounded like an accusation, a reminder of everything she'd lost and everything she still wanted. Then, as if the tension weren't already thick enough, the lights flickered and went out. Gasps filled the room, followed by the unmistakable hum of confusion and panic. The soft background music stopped abruptly, replaced by the uneasy shuffling of guests in the dark. For a moment, only the emergency lights glowed faintly, casting long shadows across the walls. Devon instinctively reached for Abby's hand, while Jack's voice rose above the noise, calling for calm. Victoria's eyes darted around, her instinct for control kicking in, while Nate pulled out his phone, trying to illuminate their surroundings. And in that uneasy half-light, all eyes turned toward Phyllis. It wasn't fair, but it was predictable. Trouble had a way of following her, and she knew it. Her reputation as Genoa City's perennial firestarter made her the easiest target whenever chaos struck. Murmurs began to spread through the crowd. Had Phyllis caused the outage? Was this another of her infamous interruptions, another grand gesture gone wrong? The more she protested, the guiltier she seemed. Danny, caught between loyalty and discomfort, tried to diffuse the tension, but the damage was done. Suspicion had taken root, and Phyllis once again found herself standing alone in a room full of people who would always be ready to believe the worst. As the power slowly returned, the damage lingered in the air like smoke. The laughter that followed was forced, the smiles too practiced. What was meant to be a night of celebration had turned into a powder keg of jealousy, suspicion, and unspoken emotion. Phyllis, her pride barely intact, left the club in silence, her shadow trailing behind her like a ghost. Danny watched her go, torn between sympathy and frustration. Victoria exchanged a glance with Nate, sensing that the evening's drama had only just begun. Abby and Devon tried to reclaim the mood downstairs, but even they couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted in the city's delicate social fabric. The GCAC lights may have flickered back on, but the spark that mattered most, the fragile balance between love, loyalty, and forgiveness, was now dangerously close to burning out. And as Genoa City would soon learn, a blackout is rarely just a blackout when Phyllis Summers is in the room. At the Genoa City Athletic Club, what began as a night of celebration for Danny Romalotti was quickly turning into a powder keg of emotion, misdirection, and old wounds reopened under the shimmer of candlelight. Upstairs, the tension that had been building since Phyllis Summers' unexpected arrival was about to erupt in full force. Danny, ever the peacemaker, tried to maintain control of the evening, juggling charm and exhaustion in equal measure. When Jack Abbott and Michael Baldwin teased him about the guest list confusion, Danny waved off their concerns with that classic grin that once made him the heartthrob of Genoa City. "I rented the whole place, the house and the lower level, for Cricket's bachelorette party," he said, trying to smooth things over. It was a simple misunderstanding, he assured them, nothing more than a mix-up of timing and logistics. The club was buzzing with separate celebrations, and if fate had chosen to cross their paths, well, perhaps that was inevitable in a city like this. Nate Hastings, who had arrived expecting a quiet dinner with Victoria Newman, found himself suddenly roped into Danny's circle. The rock star, ever sociable, clapped Nate on the shoulder and invited him to join the men downstairs. "Come on, man," he said, flashing that easy, generous smile. "It's not every night I have my bachelor party, grab a drink, laugh a little." Victoria, meanwhile, was caught between amusement and disbelief. "You should come, too," Danny suggested lightly, motioning to her. After all, Cricket's party is right below us. Might as well join the fun. It was meant as a joke, but the timing couldn't have been worse. Moments later, Devin Winters appeared, looking agitated and disheveled, his composure unraveling under the weight of frustration. "I just lost Abby because of whatever's going on downstairs," he muttered, running a hand through his hair. The irony of losing the woman he loved during what was supposed to be a night of celebration wasn't lost on anyone. Jack tried to lighten the mood, offering him a sympathetic smile, but Devin barely noticed. Michael Baldwin, sensing the mounting chaos, stepped into the role of reluctant disciplinarian. From the corner of his eye, he caught a flash of red hair lingering near the lobby, the unmistakable presence of Phyllis Summers, pacing like a storm cloud about to break. With a sigh that carried years of experience with her antics, he excused himself from the group. In the hallway, Michael intercepted Phyllis before she could cause more damage. "Why don't you head upstairs," he suggested with weary patience, "and try not to ruin everyone's night." But Phyllis was already too far gone into her own spiral of bitterness and longing. The mention of Cricket's party downstairs reignited the simmering jealousy that had been eating away at her since she saw Danny earlier. She brushed past Michael, her heels clicking sharply against the polished floor, and descended the staircase as if drawn by gravity itself. Downstairs, the mood at the bachelorette party was buoyant. Cricket, glowing and relaxed, was surrounded by friends, laughter spilling through the room like champagne bubbles. But the moment Phyllis appeared at the top of the stairs, the air shifted. Conversation faltered, heads turned, and even the music seemed to dim. Christine Blair, Cricket, as she'd always been known, looked up in disbelief, her smile freezing mid-laugh. "What are you doing here?" she demanded, her voice carrying across the room. Phyllis, with that dangerous smirk that always spelled trouble, descended slowly, savoring the tension she'd created. "Is this a private event?" she asked coolly, "or can anyone join the celebration?" Before Cricket could answer, Lauren Fenmore appeared from the side of the room, her instincts kicking in. She moved quickly, taking Phyllis gently but firmly by the arm and steering her toward the back of the club. "You really don't want to be here," Lauren warned under her breath. But Phyllis, never one to heed reason, was already spiraling. "I didn't realize I'd stumbled into Cricket Romalotti 2.0's big night," she shot back bitterly. Her voice dripped with sarcasm, but beneath it, there was a tremor of hurt that only Lauren could detect. "What are you even doing here?" Lauren asked, exasperation creeping into her tone. Phyllis turned, eyes flashing. "She stole Danny from me," she snapped, the old obsession bleeding through every word. "She's cruel, Lauren, heartless. She flaunts her happiness like it's a trophy, as if I'm supposed to sit quietly and watch." Her voice cracked, but the anger quickly returned. "She gets everything. Always has." Lauren, who had been through her own share of heartbreaks, took a deep breath, torn between sympathy and frustration. "What do you get out of this?" she asked softly. Phyllis's expression hardened. "Satisfaction," she said simply. "If she thinks she can rub her perfect little life in my face, she's wrong." And then, as if summoned by her name, Christine stepped forward from the doorway, her expression steely but calm. "I thought we got all of this out of our systems the last time we argued," she said evenly, though the edge in her voice betrayed her weariness. Phyllis's laugh was cold, bitter, and laced with defiance. "Oh, I've got a whole bag of venom left," she replied, her eyes narrowing. "You didn't think I'd run out, did you?" Christine sighed, shaking her head slowly. "That's just it, Phyllis, you never do. You can't stand that I've built something real, something lasting. You hate that no matter what you do, you'll never have what I have." The words cut deep, and for a moment even Lauren winced. But Christine wasn't done. "You married Jeremy Stark, for heaven's sake. If that isn't proof that you've completely lost touch with reality, I don't know what is." The insult landed like a slap. Phyllis's face went red, her body tensing as the fury boiled to the surface. In one swift motion, she lunged forward, every ounce of restraint gone, but before she could reach Christine, Lauren moved fast, wrapping her arms around Phyllis and holding her back. "Enough," Lauren hissed, her voice trembling with anger and fear. The room had gone silent. Guests who had come for laughter now stood frozen in disbelief as the old rivalry reignited before their eyes. Christine stood her ground, eyes locked on Phyllis. "You never change," she said quietly. "And you never will." Phyllis's breathing was heavy, her expression caught somewhere between heartbreak and rage. "Maybe not," she whispered, her voice barely audible, "but neither will you. You'll always see me as the villain, and maybe that's what I am. But at least I'm honest about it." Lauren, still holding her, finally managed to steer her toward the exit, her voice firm but gentle. "Go home, Phyllis. Just go." For a long moment, Phyllis hesitated, her eyes flicking toward Danny's name on the event banner, the letters blurring through tears she refused to shed. Then, without another word, she turned and walked out, her heels echoing against the marble floor like punctuation marks at the end of a tragedy that had been written years ago. Back upstairs, oblivious to the chaos below, Danny, Jack, Nate, Devin, and Michael sat around a table with drinks in hand, trying to reclaim the sense of camaraderie that had begun the night. Jack lifted his glass, his tone wistful. "I'm sorry Daniel couldn't make it," he said, referring to Danny's son. "It would have been good to have him here." Danny smiled faintly, his eyes softening. "He'll be at the wedding," he promised. "That's what matters." But even as they laughed and toasted to friendship, a tension lingered in the air, a quiet, unspoken awareness that in Genoa City, no party ever truly ends in peace. Somewhere below them, the echoes of Phyllis's fury still hung like smoke, and everyone knew it was only a matter of time before those flames reached them too.